23.5 Degrees was formed to take a Starbucks franchise. In fact, the first Starbucks franchise in the world, where the test market was in the UK. And we formed the company to facilitate that franchise. My name is Mark Hepburn. I was one of the founders and the CEO of 23.5 Degrees and the CEO at the exit. For my whole life, since I've been 15, I've worked in the franchising business, different franchising businesses. And when I was about 16, I met an old guy, he had grey hair, who was going to become a franchisee. And I really didn't understand what that was. I was training him to make burgers. I was working for Wimpy at the time. And I was just intrigued that why this older guy was wanting to come and work in a fast food restaurant with 16 and 17-year-olds. And he explained that he was going to invest his money in a Wimpy franchise and that he was going to be the owner of that franchise. And I did think to myself at the time, wow, it's a real recipe for a business to be successful. And I spent a long time working with different franchisees and really learning how business and franchising worked. Becoming a franchisee had become a real life goal for me. So I started working for a franchisee in KFC, and I learned an awful lot from that franchisee, particularly around property, the ins and outs of how business works, how you raise capital, how equity works, how you grow a business when you're actually funding it yourself. And that really gave me the tools and prepared me for the next step, which was how do I become a franchisee in my own right. Out of pure fortune, my wife was working with another franchisee who was franchising Domino's pizzas, and she was in the HR side of the business, helping recruit, and she really sort of matchmaked us and put us together. And the idea was that collectively we would go and find a franchising brand that we could really grow exponentially. And over time, we did hear that Starbucks was going to franchise, which if anyone had known Starbucks, Howard Schultz had said he would never franchise. So this was really a key moment in Starbucks's journey, and I really felt that it was a great opportunity for us. We spoke to Starbucks in the UK, we put ourselves forward as potential franchisees, and fortunately we were lucky to be accepted. Our first store opened in 2013 in February, and you know the vision at that point for Starbucks was it would be amazing if you did 2 stores a year. We opened 5 stores in the first year. They extended our territory and gave us more expansion opportunities, and really we were starting to really get traction in the business. And then Starbucks offered us the opportunity to buy some stores from themselves. We'd expended quite a lot of our capital by that point, growing the business organically. So to fund that expansion with the additional 16 stores, we looked at different opportunities. We went to the bank, we spoke to potential sole party investors, and then we started talking with a corporate finance expert who talked us through how we would maybe approach some private equity companies. Connection was one of them. I've got to say was probably the one that was the most engaged. One of the biggest issues that a lot of the private equity guys had was that we were a franchise, not a franchisor. So the control from the franchisor was on the business, and also that could have an impact on exit. But when we met Connection, they just immediately got it. They knew that was going to be something they would have to overcome, but it wasn't an insurmountable issue. Well, you know, we were taking a business that was 13 stores and adding 16, and also at the same time opening a store. So we were really overnight moving from 13 stores to 30 stores. So, you know, obviously there was the finance aspect of it, in relation to giving us the capital to make the purchase and also secure further bank funding to continue that aggressive expansion of the Starbucks brand. But What was also really great was the input that the guys put to the team and how we were going to broaden the team, strengthen the team, professionalise the team. We were still really a start-up, and I'm sure you know start-ups are by the seat of your pants and you're running at 100 mile an hour. One of the real consolidating factors was that professionalising of the business. You know, they insisted that we had a CFO, for example. We employed a chairman. We were much more formal in our reporting, much more to the equity holders, but also to the bank. And that grew confidence in us as a business to secure further funding as we went along. So they had a dramatic effect over and above just allowing us to make the purchase. The feedback and the encouragement that they were giving us that we were on the right track, that they had the experience of growing businesses quickly, also brought that to the table as well, and really encouraged us that we were doing the right things, we were focused on the right points, and that, you know, it was going to be a success. And their enthusiasm really, you know, came through for our business, but also what was to come. We always viewed that this was a relationship that was more than just about Connection Capital giving us cash to grow, that it was a business partnership, that we were working cohesively together to get an outcome that was suitable for the shareholders. We had a really good management team, we had a really strong chairman, and we had really good input at the board meetings from Connection. They were an active participant. I think one of the benefits that we had was we were a business that was growing. The checks and balances were in place to ensure that we were growing properly, and their contribution was much more structural and preparation for exit, particularly as we got post-COVID. Mark's insight into how the business was going to exit and the support that Connection gave to that exit process was really invaluable. That was something I didn't have experience of. We were running a great business, but you know, we were also wanting to run a great business and exit it at the same time. And the expertise that came from Connection and from our chairman really helped us do that effectively. And it really came through from a Connection Capital's perspective that, you know, as investors, you were completely aligned with the management team, and it really put us in a strong negotiating position with a potential buyer. And I think that was intrinsic to getting a really great deal for stakeholders and shareholders, and a really great outcome for Starbucks as well. I've got to say that the opening the first store was definitely one of the proudest moments of my life. You know, I'd worked since I was really from being 16 to that point of running my own business and being involved in my own business, and opening the first store and seeing a customer walk in and, you know, put money in the till was a real achievement for me. It was something that, you know, I'd worked a long time for. I think ultimately that, you know, the exit to Starbucks, the right buyer for the business, for the people that worked in it, for the customers, and how we exited it, I think we exited it with grace. Is also a lasting achievement in my life, achieving the franchise in 2012, opening in 2013, and exiting in 2024 with stakeholders and shareholders both smiling, and a buyer that was smiling to receive such a great asset. You know, it's probably one of the biggest moments of my life, and a real pinnacle in my career.